She handed him the wine list like he worked there. He smiled and didn't correct her. For the first time in years, no one was performing. No polished small talk, no resume recitals. Just two strangers who thought they had nothing to prove. He asked about her dreams. She told him the truth. He listened, not like someone trying to impress her, but like someone who actually cared. But when the truth comes out, when she realizes who he really is, will this fragile honesty survive? The rain started the moment Isla stepped out of the cab. Of course it did. She ducked under the awning of Aurelius, heels clicking against wet stone, makeup probably running, hair definitely ruined. 15 minutes late. The client presentation had run over, then traffic, then the world conspiring against punctuality. She pushed through the brass-trimmed door and felt the warmth hit her like a wave. Inside, amber light pooled across white tablecloths. Soft jazz threaded through the low hum of conversation. The scent of wine and oak and something herbal she couldn't name hung in the air. A hostess in black smiled at her, professional but kind. "Reservation under Moreno," Isla said, catching her breath. Her heart was still racing from the sprint across 3 city blocks. "Of course, right this way." But before the hostess could move, Isla spotted him. A man standing near the bar, dark suit, perfectly tailored, no tie, clean-shaven. He was looking at his phone, then up at the door. At her. He straightened slightly when their eyes met. Her stomach twisted. Blind dates were supposed to be awkward, supposed to involve fumbling introductions, enforced small talk, and the slow agony of realizing you had nothing in common. Not this. He crossed toward her. His stride was unhurried, confident but not arrogant. The kind of confidence that came from knowing exactly where you fit in a room. "Hi," Isla said, adjusting the strap of her bag. Water dripped from her coat onto the polished floor. "Sorry I'm late. The traffic was—" "Don't worry about it." His voice was calm, a little rough around the edges, like someone who'd spent the evening talking too much already. "I'm just glad you made it. I was starting to think you'd changed your mind." "No, just bad timing with everything." He gestured toward a corner table near the window. Rain streaked the glass in silver lines. "They're holding it for us." She followed him, noticing the way the hostess nodded at him. Familiar, respectful. The bartender glanced over too. A small acknowledgement. Nothing overt, but there. He must work here, Isla thought. Manager, maybe? Senior staff. Someone who knew the rhythm of the place. Someone who understood how the pieces fit together. Good. That made this easier. No pressure, no performance. Just two people who happened to be sitting at the same table on a Friday night. They sat. He slid a menu toward her without looking at it himself. Like he already knew what was on it by heart. Like he could recite every ingredient, every preparation, every wine pairing without thinking. "Long day?" he asked, settling into his chair. Isla exhaled, let her shoulders drop for the first time in hours. "You have no idea. Try me." She looked at him, really looked. His eyes were dark, focused, not the glazed-over politeness of someone waiting for their turn to talk, not the impatient energy of someone already planning their exit strategy. "Meetings that could have been emails," she said. "Emails that should have been meetings. Clients who changed their minds 3 times in one conversation. The usual Friday chaos." He smiled. A real one. Not the practice smile people used in professional settings. "Sounds like you need wine." "I need several wines." "I can work with that." The restaurant hummed around them. Conversations blurred into background static. The rain tapped against the windows in soft, irregular rhythms. Isla watched the water snake down the glass, distorting the city lights beyond into smears of gold and white. Luca folded his hands on the table, careful, deliberate. He should say something, correct her assumption, explain that he wasn't just staff, that this was his place, his name on the door, his responsibility, his burden. but she was smiling at him like he wasn't a checklist item. Like she didn't need to know his net worth, or his business card, or his last name before deciding if he was worth her time. When was the last time someone had looked at him like that? Like he was just a person, not a portfolio. So, Isla said, glancing at the menu, do you have any recommendations, or is that a conflict of interest? He laughed before he could stop himself. Conflict of interest? You work here, right? She said it casually. No judgment, just a simple observation based on the evidence in front of her. There it was, the assumption, the door he could walk through or close, the moment where he could correct her, explain, set the record straight, let the evening unfold the way it was supposed to, with credentials and small talk and the careful dance of two people auditioning for each other. He should close it, tell her the truth, be honest from the start. But he didn't. I've been here a while, he said instead. Not a lie, not the truth either. A careful middle ground where he could exist as himself for just a few hours. She nodded, satisfied, trusting. Then I trust you. What's good? Luca leaned back slightly. The question felt bigger than food. What's good? What's real? What's worth holding on to when everything else is falling apart? The risotto, he said, wild mushroom, they make it with a white wine reduction that shouldn't work, but does. The chef fought me on it for weeks before we got it right. He caught himself. Before they got it right, I mean. Her eyes lit up. Interested, engaged. A man who knows wine, dangerous. Or useful, depends on the night. She was testing him. Not in a calculated way, just curious. Like she wanted to know if he'd play along or shut down. If he'd take himself too seriously or let the moment breathe. Let it be what it was without forcing it into something else. He played along. What kind of night is this? He asked. Isla considered, took a sip of water, set the glass down carefully, precisely. Everything about her movements was deliberate, thoughtful. The kind where I'm too tired to lie. Something in his chest shifted, loosened. He'd been holding his breath for 3 days straight. Negotiations with suppliers. Lawyers arguing over contract details. Numbers that didn't add up no matter how many times he ran them. His brother's voice on the phone. We might have to close. We might lose everything. Good, he said quietly. Me too. The waiter appeared, took their order with professional efficiency, disappeared again, and for the first time in weeks, Luca felt like he could breathe. She shouldn't be this comfortable. Not with a stranger, not on a blind date orchestrated by Mara, who had a track record of terrible judgment and overconfidence in her matchmaking skills. Mara, who'd set her up with a venture capitalist who spent the entire dinner talking about his Peloton stats. Mara, who thought, has a pulse, was a reasonable standard for compatibility. But Isla was comfortable, genuinely, surprisingly comfortable. Maybe it was the rain. The way it softened the world outside, made everything feel smaller, more intimate, a bubble where the usual rules didn't quite apply. Or maybe it was the fact that he wasn't asking the usual questions. Where did you go to school? What do you do? How do you spend your weekends? Are you close with your family? Do you want kids? The interrogation disguised as conversation. He was just there, present, listening. I'm an interior architect, she said, surprising herself. She usually led with something softer, something vague, something that didn't invite follow-up questions or skepticism, or the inevitable, oh, so you pick out curtains? He tilted his head, genuinely curious. What does that mean, practically? Most people asked what the difference was between an interior architect and an interior designer. Or worse, they said something dismissive, something that reduced years of study and practice to aesthetic choices and furniture catalogs. But he didn't. It means I make spaces feel like they belong to the people who use them, Isla said. The answer she'd refined over years. The one that was both true and professionally acceptable. I work with the bones of a building, the structure, the flow, how light moves through a room, how sound behaves, how people naturally want to move through space. She paused, watching his reaction. Most people's eyes glazed over by now. His didn't. Or I tried to, she continued. Sometimes clients don't actually want that. They want what looks good in a magazine, what impresses their friends, what says the right things about who they are or who they want to be. And you give them what they want? I give them what I think they need. Then we argue about it. She smiled, rueful. I've gotten better at the arguing part. Lucas smiled, a real one. The kind that reached his eyes and changed his whole face. Sounds exhausting. It is. Isla picked up her wine glass, realized it was empty, set it down. A refill appeared moments later, courtesy of the invisible waiter. But it's mine, you know? It's the thing I chose, not the thing someone told me I should do. Not the safe path or the impressive path, just mine. He did know. She could see it in the way his expression softened. Not pity, not condescension, recognition, the kind that came from understanding exactly what she meant. What about you? She asked. How long have you been working here? Long enough to know which tables have the best view. He gestured toward the window. Through the rain-blurred glass, the city lights bled into soft halos, gold and white and red, painting the darkness with color. Isla followed his gaze, watched the way the rain caught the light, refracted it, made something ordinary into something almost beautiful. It's beautiful. It is. But when she looked back at him, he wasn't looking at the window. He was looking at her. The evening unfolded in layers. Appetizers arrived on pristine white plates, delicate, thoughtful, the kind of food that tasted like someone had actually cared about making it. Each element placed with intention, each flavor balanced against the next. Wine refills appeared without Isla having to ask. The waiter was good, truly good, invisible when he needed to be, present when he wasn't, reading the table with the kind of skill that only came from years of practice. They traded stories like currency, carefully at first, testing the waters, then with more ease as the evening settled into something comfortable, something that felt less like a first date and more like a conversation between old friends who'd simply been apart too long. Isla told him about the pitch she was preparing, a big one, the kind that could change everything or confirm she'd been fooling herself all along. The kind that kept her up at night running through scenarios and contingencies and all the ways it could go wrong. It's for a restaurant redesign, she said, careful not to reveal too much. Client confidentiality and all that. High-end place, historic building, beautiful bones but dated execution. They want to modernize without losing the soul of the place. Luca went very still. His wine glass paused halfway to his lips. That's a hard balance. I know, but I think I can do it. I have ideas, good ones. I just need them to trust me. She laughed, a little bitterly, self-deprecating in a way that made her wince internally. Which is the hard part, trusting the quiet woman with the soft voice who doesn't look like she belongs in the room. Something in his expression shifted, darkened. Do you ever feel like you're one mistake away from everyone realizing you don't belong? Luca asked. His voice was quieter now, more vulnerable. Isla blinked, looked at him, really looked, saw something in his eyes that mirrored her own constant, gnawing doubt. Every day. Me too. Really? Really? He set his glass down, ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration or exhaustion, or maybe both. Every decision feels like it could be the one that proves I've been pretending this whole time, that I don't actually know what I'm doing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The honesty sat between them like something fragile, something that might break if they moved too fast, or said too much, or acknowledged how rare this was. Then his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. He glanced at it. His expression changed. Not much, just enough. A tightness around his jaw, a flicker of something, stress maybe, or dread. The look of someone being pulled back into a reality they'd been trying to escape. "I'm sorry," he said, standing, apologetic but firm. "I need to take this. 1 minute, I promise." Isla waved him off, understanding. Everyone had their emergencies, their obligations. "Go, I'll survive." He walked toward the back hallway, phone already to his ear. Through the glass partition, she watched him talk. His posture shifted completely. Shoulders squared, spine straight, voice lower, authoritative in a way that made people straighten their own spines in response. He was gesturing now, firm, decisive, not asking, telling. The universal body language of someone giving orders they expected to be followed. A chef appeared beside him, white coat, serious expression, listened intently, nodded once, disappeared back into the kitchen like a soldier receiving marching orders. Isla smiled to herself. So he's not just staff, he's management, floor manager maybe, or assistant GM. Makes sense. He has that energy. The kind that makes people listen without him having to raise his voice. The kind that commands respect through competence rather than authority. Still, it didn't change anything. He was still the first person in a long time who'd listened to her without an agenda. Who'd asked what she wanted instead of what she'd accomplished. Who'd made her feel seen rather than evaluated. When he returned, he didn't apologize again. Just sat down and picked up his wine glass like the interruption had never happened. Like crisis management was so routine, it didn't even register as disruption. Just another beat in the rhythm of his evening. Isla liked that. No over-explaining, no performance of remorse, no elaborate justification for taking 3 minutes to handle something that clearly needed handling. Just presence. Just returning to the conversation like it mattered more than whatever fire he just put out. "Crisis averted?" she asked lightly, keeping her tone casual, not prying but interested. For now, a small smile, tired but genuine. There's always another one waiting in the wings. She wanted to ask more. What kind of crisis? How often this happened? Whether he liked the pressure or just tolerated it because it came with the territory. Whether he ever got to clock out, mentally, or if the work followed him home. Followed him everywhere, into his sleep, into moments like this that were supposed to be separate from all of that. But she didn't ask. Because this wasn't that kind of night. This was the kind of night where you didn't dig, where you let the other person breathe, where you respected the boundaries they drew, even if they drew them silently. Instead, she said, "Tell me something true." Luca looked at her, really looked, like he was deciding whether to trust her with something that mattered, something real. His eyes searched hers for a long moment, weighing something she couldn't see. "I'm tired of people expecting me to be someone I'm not," he said finally. The words came out quiet, almost confessional. Isla's breath caught. The honesty of it, the weight, the way it landed between them like something precious, unbreakable. "Yeah," she whispered. "Me too." The rain outside was heavier now, drumming against the windows with renewed intensity. The restaurant had filled up around them without her noticing. Laughter from a nearby table, celebrating something. The clink of silverware, the low hum of Friday night energy. People celebrating, people forgetting. People pretending for a few hours that they were exactly who they wanted to be. But at their table, it was quiet, honest, real in a way that felt almost dangerous. "What do you want?" Luca asked. His voice was soft but direct, cutting through all the noise to the thing that actually mattered. Not what do you do, not what have you accomplished, not where do you see yourself in 5 years. Not any of the standard questions people asked when they were really asking, "Are you worth my time? What do you want?" Isla thought about it, let the questions settle. Let herself actually consider it instead of reaching for the polished answer she'd prepared for moments like this. I want to build something that lasts, something that matters, not just something pretty that photographs well, something real that changes how people experience their lives. In architecture? In anything. She met his eyes, held them. I just want to make something that outlives me, something that proves I was here and it mattered. He nodded slowly, like he understood exactly what she meant, like he'd asked himself the same question 1,000 times. That's a good answer. What about you? Luca leaned forward. His eyes were dark, serious, the kind of serious that came from making too many hard decisions too young, from carrying weight that most people never had to feel. I want to stop pretending I'm fine with things I'm not fine with. Isla felt something shift, a recognition, a mirror. Two people who'd spent too long performing, too long being what other people needed them to be, too long sacrificing the truth for the sake of keeping the peace or maintaining appearances or just getting through the day without conflict. That's a better answer, she whispered. He smiled, small, sad, real. The kind of smile that acknowledged how hard that would be, how much easier it was to keep pretending, how much safer. And for a moment, the restaurant fell away. The rain, the city, everything. Just two people seeing each other clearly for the first time in a very long time. She was going to regret this. Isla knew it even as she kept talking, even as she told him about the pitch that could save her career or end it, even as she admitted she was terrified of failing in front of people who'd never believed in her to begin with, people who were waiting for her to confirm their doubts, waiting to say, "I told you so," with their eyes, if not their words. But she couldn't stop. The words kept coming like a dam had broken somewhere inside her. Because he was listening, not waiting for his turn to talk, not planning his response while she spoke, not checking his phone under the table or glancing around the restaurant for more interesting conversations. Just listening, present, engaged. I spent 3 years at a firm where they called me the quiet one, Isla said. The wine had loosened something in her, made the truth easier to access. Like it was a diagnosis. Like being thoughtful meant I didn't have opinions. Like speaking slowly meant I didn't have anything worth saying. Did you correct them? Once, at a team meeting, I prepared this whole presentation on a redesign concept, spent weeks on it, research, mock-ups, cost projections, everything. She could still feel the tightness in her chest from that day, the way her hands had shaken. They laughed, said I was being too sensitive when I pointed out they'd interrupted me 6 times in 10 minutes, that I needed thicker skin if I wanted to survive in this industry. Luca's expression darkened, his jaw clenched. It's fine. I left. She took a breath, let it out slowly, trying to release the tension that always came with this story. Started my own practice, smaller clients, lower budget projects, but mine, on my terms. She traced the rim of her wineglass with one finger, a nervous habit she'd never quite broken. But sometimes I wonder if they were right, if I'm just too soft for this world, too quiet, too careful. If I'm fooling myself thinking I can make it work. You're not soft, Lucas said immediately, firmly, like it was a fact he wouldn't let her dispute, like he'd fight her on it if she tried. Isla looked up at him. You're careful, he continued. His voice was gentle but certain. You're thoughtful. You don't rush into things without considering the consequences. You pay attention to details other people miss. You listen before you speak. Those aren't weaknesses. They're strengths. He paused, held her gaze. The world just doesn't know how to value them yet. Doesn't mean they're not valuable. Something in Isla's chest cracked open. Something she'd been holding closed for a very long time. No one had ever said that before. No one had ever reframed her doubt into something that sounded like power. Like maybe she wasn't broken. Maybe she was just different. Maybe different didn't mean less. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice caught slightly. She blinked rapidly, willing herself not to cry in the middle of a restaurant on a first date. I mean it. She believed him. That was the dangerous part. That was the part that would make this hurt later, when reality crashed back in. When the night ended and they went back to being strangers. When whatever this was dissolved in the harsh light of morning, and real life and all the reasons why moments like this never lasted. What about you? She asked, shifting the weight, needing to balance the vulnerability, needing to not be the only one standing naked in this conversation. What do people get wrong about you? Luca hesitated, looked down at his hands, spread them flat on the white tablecloth like he was bracing himself. They think I have it all figured out. And you don't? Not even close, he laughed, bitter, self-deprecating. I'm making it up as I go, every day, every decision, just hoping I don't destroy everything I've built, everything other people depend on me to maintain. The confession hung between them, honest, raw, unpolished. The kind of thing you don't say to strangers, the kind of thing you barely admit to yourself in the quiet hours before dawn when you can't sleep because the weight of it all is too heavy to ignore. Isla wanted to reach across the table, touch his hand, bridge the space between them with something more than words. Say something that would let him know she understood, that she saw him, that she recognized the exhaustion behind the competence, the fear behind the confidence. But she didn't. Not yet. The moment felt too fragile, like touching it might shatter it completely. I should tell you something, Lucas said suddenly. His voice had changed, tighter, more careful. The shift in his tone made Isla's heart kick against her ribs. Here it was, the catch, the reveal, the reason this felt too good to be real, the thing she'd been waiting for all night without realizing she was waiting. Because nothing this easy ever lasted. Nothing this honest ever survived contact with reality. Okay, she said carefully, already bracing, already building walls, already preparing for disappointment. He opened his mouth, closed it, looked toward the kitchen, then back at her. His jaw worked like he was trying to find the right words and failing. Like he was running through scenarios in his head, testing different versions of the truth to see which one would hurt less. This restaurant, excuse me, Mr. Bennett, a waiter appeared beside their table, young, nervous, apologetic. The suppliers are online too. They're saying if we don't confirm the order by tonight, they're moving to the next client on the list. Something about payment terms being overdue. Isla froze. Mr. Bennett. The words echoed in her head, rearranging everything, recontextualizing the entire evening. Every interaction, every assumption, every moment where she'd thought she understood what was happening. Luca's face went completely blank, carefully neutral in a way that took effort. Tell them I'll call back. But they said, I'll call back. The authority in his voice was absolute, final, not mean but completely unmovable. The waiter nodded quickly, retreated like he'd been dismissed from a throne room. Silence, heavy, suffocating. Isla stared at him, her mind racing, recalibrating, rewinding the entire evening through a different lens. Every time the staff had deferred to him, every time he'd known exactly what was on the menu without looking, every time he'd gestured and things had simply happened around him like magic. Not magic, authority, ownership. Mr. Bennett, she said quietly. Her voice was steady, carefully controlled. The same voice she used with clients who'd lied about their budget or their timeline or their expectations. He exhaled, long and slow, like a man preparing for impact, like someone who'd known this moment was coming and had hoped against hope it wouldn't arrive quite so soon. Isla, you own this place. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation, a betrayal, a confirmation of every cynical thought she'd ever had about trusting too quickly. I co-own it, he said, precise, like the distinction mattered, like it changed anything. With my brother, But that's not the point. You let me think you were just staff. Her voice was still quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that came before something broke, the kind that was more dangerous than shouting. You let me sit here and talk about restaurant design and career pressure and imposter syndrome while you— No, he leaned forward, urgent now, desperate. You assumed. I didn't correct you. There's a difference. Is there? She could feel her hands shaking. Press them flat against her thighs under the table where he couldn't see. Yes. His voice cracked slightly, a hairline fracture in his composure. Because if I'd told you, if I'd introduced myself as the owner, you would have treated me differently. You would have performed, put on the professional mask, started auditioning for my approval. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. And I didn't want that. For once in my life, I just wanted to lie by omission. The words came out sharper than she intended, cutting. To be myself. Isla stood, her chair scraped against the floor, loud in the sudden silence at their table. Her hands were shaking harder now, not from anger, from something worse, disappointment, the kind that came from hoping and being wrong, from trusting and being reminded why she shouldn't. I need to go. Isla, please, just let me. Thank you for dinner, Mr. Bennett. The formality of it, the distance, the deliberate use of his title. It landed like a slap. She could see it in the way he flinched, almost imperceptibly, but there. She grabbed her coat from the back of her chair, her bag, moved toward the door on autopilot, one foot in front of the other. Don't look back. Don't give him the satisfaction. Don't let him see how much this hurt. She was halfway across the restaurant when she realized she hadn't paid, hadn't left her number, hadn't done any of the normal things you do at the end of a date. But this wasn't a normal date, and he clearly wasn't a normal man. Other diners were watching now, pretending not to, but watching. The way people always watched when someone walked out, when something fractured in public. She didn't care. Let them watch. Let them think whatever they wanted. She stopped at the hostess stand, pulled out her phone with shaking hands, opened a new contact. Her fingers fumbled on the screen twice before she got it right. The hostess, young, efficient, kind eyes that had probably seen 100 exits like this, looked up from her computer. Everything okay, miss? Isla exhaled, tried to steady her voice, tried to sound professional instead of broken. Can you give this to him? She scribbled her number on the back of a business card, her professional one, the one with her title and her credentials and everything she'd tried not to be tonight. Everything she'd wanted to leave at the door for just one evening. The man I was sitting with, tell him. She paused, swallowed hard, considered what to say, how to acknowledge what had just happened without falling apart. Tell him I hope his boss doesn't fire him for sitting with guests. The hostess took the card. Her expression flickered, confusion, then understanding, then something like sympathy. Of course, miss. Isla pushed through the brass-trimmed door, back into the rain. The cold hit her like a wall. Immediate, sobering. It was colder now, sharper. The kind of cold that woke you up, reminded you where you were, who you were. The kind that cut through illusions and left only reality in its wake. She walked 3 blocks before she let herself cry. Not because he'd lied. He hadn't, technically. He just let her believe something that wasn't true, which was somehow worse, more calculated, more deliberate. But because for 2 hours she'd felt seen, really seen, not as a portfolio or a resume, or a woman who looked a certain way. Not as someone to impress or evaluate or measure against some invisible standard. Just as herself, raw, honest, enough. And now she wasn't sure if any of it had been real. Had he been performing the whole time? Playing the role of the humble staff member to see how she'd treat someone she thought was beneath her? Testing her character? Or had some part of it been real? Had he felt it too? That rare, fragile thing that happened when two people actually connected instead of just exchanging biographical information? She didn't know. And that was the part that hurt most, the not knowing. Inside, Lucas stood at the hostess stand, held the business card in both hands like it might dissolve if he wasn't careful, like it was evidence of something he needed to preserve. Isla Moreno, interior architect. Her handwriting was neat, precise, controlled, the kind that belonged to someone who thought carefully before they acted, before they trusted, the kind that came from years of learning not to be messy, not to take up too much space. He pulled out his phone. His thumb hovered over her number, started typing. "I'm sorry. I should have deleted it." Too defensive, too focused on his guilt instead of her hurt. Started again. "You were right. I wasn't honest." Deleted it. Too much admission, too raw. Would it even matter? Would she care about his reasons? He couldn't call, not yet. Not when she thought he was someone he wasn't. Not when he'd just proven he was exactly the kind of person she'd been trying to avoid. Someone who hid. Someone who performed. Someone who manipulated situations to protect himself from being judged. But what if she was right? What if the version of himself he'd been tonight, the one without the title, without the expectations, without the weight of everything he was supposed to be, what if that was who he actually was underneath all of it? Luca pocketed the card, looked around the restaurant, his restaurant, the one he'd built with his brother from a bankrupt shell of a building, the one that was supposed to prove something, supposed to mean something, the one that might not survive the month if he couldn't figure out how to keep the suppliers happy and the investors confident and the staff paid. He'd spent 5 years building this place, 5 years of 18-hour days and sleepless nights and constant crisis management, 5 years of being Mr. Bennett, and tonight for 2 hours, he'd forgotten it existed, had been able to breathe without the weight of it pressing down on his chest. That had to mean something, didn't it? The hostess was watching him, worried. "Do you want me to?" "No." He looked at the card again. "I'll handle it." If she'd even answer. If she'd even let him try to explain. If any explanation would be enough. The morning after, Isla's phone stayed silent. She told herself it didn't matter. Told herself she didn't care. Told herself she wasn't checking her notifications every 15 minutes like a teenager waiting for a text back from her crush. She had work. Real work. The pitch was in 4 days. 4 days to finalize renderings. 4 days to rehearse her presentation until every word felt natural instead of memorized. 4 days to convince a room full of strangers that she knew what she was doing. 4 days to not think about him. Her studio was quiet. Too quiet. Just her and the blueprints spread across her drafting table, and the hum of her computer rendering the latest iteration of the design. She'd been tweaking the lighting plan for 3 hours, moving fixtures by inches, adjusting angles, trying to get the shadows exactly right, but her mind kept drifting back to Friday night, to the way he'd listened, the way he'd looked at her like she was someone worth knowing, the way she'd felt for just a few hours like maybe she wasn't performing, like maybe she was enough exactly as she was. And then, Mr. Bennett. Her phone buzzed. Her heart jumped. "Mara, how was it? Need details immediately. Also, I set up another one for next week if this guy was a dud." Isla stared at the message. Another one. Like dating was a numbers game. Like connection was something you could manufacture through enough attempts and good enough algorithms. She typed back, "It was fine, not doing another one." Mara, "Fine? That's it? Girl, you need to give people a chance." Isla didn't respond, turned her phone face down, went back to her renderings. The lighting still wasn't right. The shadows fell wrong. The warmth she was trying to create felt forced, artificial. She deleted the last 3 hours of work and started over. Outside her studio window, the city moved on. People going to jobs they might love or hate. people meeting for coffee, people falling in love or falling apart, people living lives that had nothing to do with her or her empty phone, or the fact that she couldn't stop replaying a conversation with someone who'd been lying by omission the entire time. Her phone buzzed again. Not Mara this time. Unknown number. Her breath caught. But when she opened it, "Hi, this is Downtown Collective reminding you about your invoice due on the 15th. Reply, stop, to unsubscribe." She threw her phone across the room. It landed on the couch, undamaged, unlike her pride. The email arrived Tuesday afternoon. Subject line, Aurelius redesign, finalist interview scheduled. Isla's stomach dropped. Aurelius. Of course it was Aurelius. Of course, the mystery restaurant project she'd been preparing for was his. The universe didn't do coincidences. It did cruel jokes. It did karmic punishments for daring to hope. She opened the email with shaking hands. "Dear Ms. Moreno, congratulations on being selected as one of 3 finalists for the Aurelius renovation project. We were impressed by your initial proposal and would like to invite you to present your full vision this Thursday at 2 p.m. The presentation will be conducted at Aurelius and will include the ownership team as well as key stakeholders. Please plan for a 30-minute presentation followed by Q&A. We look forward to seeing your work." Ownership team, which meant him, which meant walking back into that restaurant, which meant standing in front of the man who'd let her believe he was someone else and trying to convince him she was competent, professional, worth trusting with his business. She could withdraw. Send a polite email citing scheduling conflicts or creative differences or any of the dozen acceptable excuses people use when they needed an escape route. But this was the pitch, the one that could change everything, the one that could prove she belonged in rooms where people like her didn't usually get invited. She'd spent 2 months on this proposal, 2 months of research and sketches and late nights mapping out exactly how to honor a historic space while bringing it into the present. 2 months of imagining herself standing in that room, delivering the pitch of her career. She couldn't walk away just because the client was someone she'd rather never see again. Could she? Isla looked at her renderings, the ones she'd redone 4 times because she couldn't get the lighting right, the ones that finally captured exactly what she'd been trying to say, the space she'd imagined, warm but not nostalgic, modern but not cold, a place where people could be themselves without pretending. The irony wasn't lost on her. She hit reply, typed, "Thank you for this opportunity. I will be there Thursday at 2 p.m. Sent it before she could change her mind, then immediately opened her calendar and blocked off the next 48 hours. Nothing but prep, nothing but work, nothing but making sure this presentation was so good, so undeniable, that he couldn't say no even if he wanted to, even if seeing her again made him uncomfortable, even if she reminded him of his own dishonesty, even if everything between them was ruined. The work would speak for itself. It had to. Thursday came too fast and too slow at the same time. Isla dressed carefully, professional but not trying too hard. Black pants, white silk blouse, the blazer her mother had bought her when she'd started her practice. "You need armor," her mother had said. "The good kind, the kind that makes you feel like you can't lose." She didn't feel like she couldn't lose. She felt like she was walking into an ambush. The cab dropped her at Aurelius at 1:45 p.m. 15 minutes early. Enough time to compose herself, but not enough to spiral. The restaurant looked different in daylight. Smaller somehow, less magical. Just a building with good bones and dated decor and the weight of someone's dreams pressing down on every surface. The hostess recognized her. Isla could see it in the flicker of her eyes. The slight pause before the professional smile clicked into place. "Ms. Moreno, they're expecting you. Conference room is upstairs." Upstairs. Of course there was an upstairs. Of course this place had layers she'd never seen. She followed the hostess up a narrow staircase hidden behind the bar. Oak paneling, brass fixtures, the kind of architectural details that would cost a fortune to replicate but looked dated in execution. The conference room was small, a table that could seat 8, windows overlooking the street, and sitting at the head of the table, reviewing documents with an older man who had the same jawline and the same dark eyes. Luca looked up. Their eyes met. For one terrible, endless second, neither of them moved. Then he stood, professional, distant, like they were strangers, like Friday night had happened to different people. "Ms. Moreno, thank you for coming." His voice was perfectly neutral, perfectly controlled. It hurt more than anger would have. "Mr. Bennett," she matched his tone, his distance. "Thank you for the opportunity." The older man stood as well, extended a hand. "Marcus Bennett, Luca's brother and co-owner. We're excited to see what you've prepared." His handshake was firm, warm, nothing like Luca's carefully blank expression. 2 other people filed in. A woman in her 50s who introduced herself as their financial advisor. A younger man who handled marketing. They took seats around the table, pulled out notepads, looked at her with polite expectation. Isla set up her laptop, connected to the projector, tried to ignore the way her hands were shaking, the way Luca was sitting perfectly still at the end of the table, not looking at her, not looking at anything. "Whenever you're ready," Marcus said kindly. Isla took a breath, opened her presentation, let the first rendering fill the screen, and began. She made it through the first 10 slides before the questions started. The financial advisor wanted to know about cost projections. The marketing guy wanted to know about Instagram moments. Marcus wanted to know about timeline and phasing and how they could stay operational during construction. Isla answered each question, calm, prepared, professional. Lucas said nothing. He sat at the end of the table with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Not hostile, but not encouraging either. Just absent, like he'd removed himself from the conversation entirely. It was worse than anger, worse than questions. It was indifference. "The thing I'm not seeing," the financial advisor said, squinting at a rendering, "is how this honors the history of the space. It looks very modern, very minimal. Is that really what Aurelius is?" Isla felt her jaw tighten. She'd anticipated this question, had prepared an answer. But the way it was phrased, "Is that really what Aurelius is?" felt loaded, like a test she was already failing. "With respect," Isla said carefully, "I think the question isn't what Aurelius is now. It's what Aurelius could be." She advanced to the next slide, a before and after comparison. "The bones of this space are extraordinary, but the current design is fighting them. Heavy drapes blocking natural light, dark wood everywhere making the ceiling feel lower, decorative elements that don't serve the space." She pulled up another image. "What I'm proposing isn't erasing history, it's revealing it. Stripping away what doesn't serve the architecture and letting the original craftsmanship breathe." Marcus leaned forward, interested. "Show me more of that." Isla did. Walked them through each decision, each material choice, each lighting fixture, building the case piece by piece. The financial advisor nodded slowly. The marketing guy started taking notes. Lucas still said nothing. "Mr. Bennett," Isla said finally, directly, tired of being ignored, "you've been quiet. Do you have concerns about the direction?" Everyone turned to look at him. He met her eyes for the first time since she'd started presenting. Something flickered in his expression. There and gone, too fast to name. "No concerns," he said. His voice was measured, professional, empty. "Continue." It felt like a dismissal, like he couldn't be bothered to engage. Isla's hands clenched into fists at her sides. She forced them to relax, forced herself to smile, to nod, to continue like his indifference didn't sting. She made it through the rest of the presentation on autopilot. Muscle memory. Years of practice pretending things didn't hurt. When she finished, Marcus stood. "This is exceptional work, Ms. Moreno, truly. We have one more finalist presenting tomorrow, but I'll be honest, you've set a very high bar." The others murmured agreement, gathered their things, filed out of the room. Luca was the last to leave. He paused at the door, his hand on the frame. "It's good work," he said quietly, not looking at her. "You should be proud." Then he left. Isla stood alone in the conference room, staring at her renderings still glowing on the screen. Good work. Like she was a stranger. Like Friday night had never happened. Like none of it had mattered at all. The call came Friday morning, Marcus Bennett, not Luca. "Ms. Moreno, I'm pleased to offer you the Aurelius project. Your vision was exactly what we needed. Fresh but respectful. Bold but thoughtful." Isla should have felt victorious, should have felt validated, should have felt something other than the knot in her stomach. "There is one condition," Marcus continued. "Given the scope and timeline, we'll need you on site at least 3 days a week during the design development phase. Is that feasible?" On site, at Aurelius, where Luca would be, where she'd have to see him, work with him, pretend everything was professional and fine and not at all complicated. "Yes," Isla heard herself say, "that's feasible." "Excellent. We'd like to start next Monday. I'll have contracts sent over this afternoon." She should negotiate, should ask for her standard rate plus the on-site premium, should protect herself professionally even if she couldn't protect herself any other way. But all she said was, "Thank you, I'm honored." After she hung up, Isla sat in her studio for a long time, staring at nothing, feeling everything. She'd won. She'd actually won. The pitch that could change her career. The project that could prove she belonged. So why did it feel like she'd lost something more important? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Congratulations, you deserved it, Luca." 9 words. Professional, distant, final. She stared at the message for a full minute before typing back, "Thank you." Nothing else. What else was there to say? The contract arrived an hour later. She read through it carefully. Scope of work, timeline, payment terms. Everything standard. Everything professional. At the bottom, 2 signature lines. One for her, one for Lucas Bennett, co-owner, Aurelius Restaurant Group. Lucas, she'd never known his full name, had called him Luca because that's what everyone else called him. Had never thought to ask if it was a nickname or a preference or just what had stuck. There was so much she didn't know, so much she'd never get to ask. She signed the contract, scanned it, sent it back. Monday. She'd start Monday. 3 months of working together. 3 months of being professional. 3 months of pretending she didn't know what his smile looked like when he was actually happy, when he wasn't performing, when he was just himself. She could do this. She had to do this. The work mattered more than the history, more than the awkwardness, more than whatever might have been. The work had to be enough. Monday morning, Isla arrived at Aurelius at 9 a.m. sharp. Professional attire, portfolio case, coffee she'd bought 3 blocks away because walking into his restaurant and ordering from his staff felt like too much intimacy for a Monday morning. The restaurant was closed, chairs upside down on tables, the smell of cleaning solution and last night's cooking still lingering. Marcus met her at the door. "Morning. Luca's running late. Conference call with suppliers, but I can give you the tour. Show you what we're working with." Relief flooded through her. A few more minutes before she had to face him. A few more minutes to armor up. Marcus walked her through the space, pointed out problem areas, outdated electrical, plumbing that needed replacing, the kitchen that was too small for the menu they wanted to run. "When we bought this place 5 years ago, it was bankrupt," Marcus said. "Previous owner couldn't keep up with the neighborhood changing. We saw potential. Luca saw..." He paused, smiled slightly. "Luca saw what it could be, not what it was. He's good at that." Isla made notes, measured walls, took photos, tried not to think about what Lucas saw when he looked at things, at spaces, at her. He's protective of this place, Marcus continued, casual but pointed, like he knew more than he was saying. It's his first restaurant, the one that proved he could do this. So any changes, he shrugged, they matter more than they probably should. I understand, Isla said quietly. Did she, though? She understood professional pride, understood the weight of creating something from nothing. But she didn't understand him, didn't understand how someone could be so honest one moment and so careful the next. How someone could look at her like she mattered and then act like she was just another contractor. The front door opened. Luca walked in, saw them, saw her. His expression didn't change. "Morning." "Morning," Marcus said cheerfully, oblivious or pretending to be. "I was just showing Isla around, giving her the lay of the land." Luca nodded, set his bag down on the bar, pulled out his laptop. "Good. I have notes on the timeline, things we need to discuss." Just like that, professional, transactional, like they were strangers meeting for the first time. Isla forced herself to match his energy. "I have some questions about load-bearing walls and the HVAC system. We'll need to upgrade if we're opening up the space the way I proposed." "Right." He opened a folder, pulled out building plans, spread them across the bar. "Here's what we're working with." They stood on opposite sides of the bar, a physical barrier between them, discussing ductwork and structural integrity and permit requirements. It should have been boring, technical, bloodless, but Isla was hyper-aware of every moment his hand moved close to hers on the blueprints. Every time he leaned forward to point something out. Every time his voice softened slightly when he was thinking through a problem. She was aware, and hating herself for being aware. This was work. Just work. It had to be. 2 weeks into the project, the kitchen crisis hit. Isla was in the dining room, consulting with the contractor about the new lighting layout, when she heard shouting from the back. Luca's voice, sharp, angry, the kind of angry that came from something breaking that couldn't be fixed easily. The contractor glanced at her. "Want to come back later?" "No," Isla said. She was here to do a job. Whatever was happening in the kitchen wasn't her problem. Except it was. Because if the kitchen was a disaster, the timeline was a disaster. And the timeline was her responsibility now. She walked toward the shouting, found Luca standing in the middle of the kitchen with a contractor she didn't recognize. Water was pooling on the floor. A pipe had burst. Not a small leak, a catastrophic failure. "How long to fix it?" Luca was asking, his voice tight, controlled fury. 2 weeks minimum, maybe 3. We have to tear out the entire wall to access the main line." "We don't have 3 weeks. We have a reopening date in 8 weeks and we're already behind schedule." "I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett, but this isn't something we can rush. The whole system is compromised." Luca looked like he wanted to put his fist through the remaining walls. "Fine, do it, but I want updates every day, twice a day if necessary." The contractor nodded, retreated, left Luca standing in the flooded kitchen looking like a man watching his dreams dissolve. Isla should leave, should give him privacy, should not engage with his crisis. But she heard herself say, "How bad is it?" Luca turned, saw her. For a moment, his expression cracked, just a hairline fracture. Then he rebuilt it. "It's fine, we'll handle it." That didn't sound fine. "It's not your problem." "Actually, it is." She stepped into the kitchen, careful to avoid the water. If the kitchen timeline changes, the dining room timeline changes. Everything cascades. He exhaled, ran a hand through his hair. "I know. So let me help. Let me look at the schedule and see what we can adjust. Maybe we can compress the dining room work, or phase it differently." "Why would you do that?" The question landed heavy, loaded with everything they weren't saying. "Because I want this project to succeed," Isla said carefully. Because your restaurant matters to people. Because good work deserves to survive. She paused. And because I don't fail, not when there's a solution. Something in his expression shifted, softened slightly. Okay, let's look at the schedule. They spread the timeline across the dry section of the kitchen counter, worked through scenarios. Compression here, delay there. Finding the wiggle room that existed if you were willing to be creative. An hour passed, then another. The contractor came back with a revised estimate. They adjusted again. By the time they finished, the water had been mopped up, the immediate crisis contained, the new timeline still aggressive, but possible. Thank you, Lucas said quietly. I mean it. You didn't have to. I did, actually. It's my job. Still. They stood there for a moment, the kitchen empty around them, just the two of them and the weight of everything unsaid. We should, Isla started. Yeah, Lucas said. We should get back to work. The moment broke. They went back to their separate corners, their separate responsibilities. But something had shifted. Some small crack in the wall they'd both been building. The forced proximity became routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Isla at Aurelius working through details with contractors and suppliers. Luca somewhere nearby. In the office, in the dining room, in her peripheral vision. They were professional, cordial, careful. But sometimes, late in the afternoon, when the contractors had left, and Marcus was handling dinner service, and they were the only two people in the closed restaurant, the careful dissolved slightly. What made you want to design spaces? Luca asked one Thursday evening. They were sitting in what would eventually be the renovated bar area, reviewing fabric samples. The question surprised her. It wasn't professional, wasn't necessary. My grandmother, Isla said after a moment, she lived in this tiny apartment in Queens, maybe 600 square feet, but she'd arranged it so perfectly that it felt enormous. Every piece of furniture had a purpose. Every corner had light. It was the first place I ever felt like space could be intentional, like it could make you feel a certain way. Luca nodded slowly. My mother was the opposite. We moved constantly when I was a kid, never stayed anywhere long enough to make it feel like home. I think that's why this, he gestured around the restaurant, matters so much. It's the first place that's really mine. That can't be taken away. The honesty surprised her, cut through the professional distance they've been maintaining. Can I ask you something? Isla said carefully. Okay. That night, at dinner, were you? She struggled for the right words. Were you trying to see how I'd treat someone I thought was staff? Was it a test? Luca looked at her, really looked. No, God, no. It wasn't calculated like that. Then what was it? He was quiet for a long moment. It was me being tired. Tired of being Mr. Bennett. Tired of people treating me like a business card. When you assumed I was just staff, it felt like permission. Permission to just be a person for a few hours. He exhaled. I know that doesn't make it okay. I should have corrected you immediately, but I didn't want to. I wanted to see who you were when you weren't performing, and I wanted you to see who I was. He paused. The real me. Not the owner, not the guy with something to prove, just me. Isla felt something crack open in her chest. I wish you'd told me. I know, I'm sorry. I wish you'd trusted me enough to think I wouldn't have changed. Would you have, though? Honestly? She thought about it, really thought. I don't know, maybe, probably, at first. She looked at him. But I wish I'd gotten the chance to try. They sat with that, the admission, the regret, the thing that might have been if either of them had been braver. For what it's worth, Lucas said quietly, that night was the first time in years I felt like myself, like I wasn't pretending. And I know I ruined it, but it mattered. You mattered. Past tense. It mattered. You mattered. Not anymore. Isla stood, gathered her fabric samples. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. Right, of course. She made it to the door before she turned back. For the record, the real you was someone worth knowing. The problem wasn't who you were, it was that you didn't trust me with the truth. Then she left. Before he could respond, before she could take it back, before she could admit that she'd been just as afraid, just as careful, just as unwilling to risk being seen completely. The partnership inquiry came in week 5. A major hospitality group wanted to acquire Aurelis, expand it into a chain, national presence, serious money. Marcus was excited. This could solve everything, the cash flow issues, the supplier problems, all of it. Luca was sitting in the office when Isla arrived Monday morning. He looked like he hadn't slept. Did Marcus tell you about the offer? He mentioned it. What do you think? The question surprised her. Why does it matter what I think? Because you understand this place. You see what it could be. He gestured at her renderings on the wall. If we sell, none of this happens. They'll want to standardize, make it replicable, turn it into something safe. Isla sat down across from him. Is that what you want? Safe? No. Immediate. Certain. But I also don't want to lose everything because I was too proud to take help when it was offered. Is that what this is? Pride? I don't know what it is anymore. He sounded exhausted. 6 months ago, I knew exactly what I was building, what I wanted. Now I'm just trying to keep the doors open. Isla understood that feeling, the slow erosion of certainty, the way dreams got complicated when reality showed up. Can I tell you what I see? She asked. Please. I see someone who's built something rare, something that matters, not because it's profitable or scalable or impressive, because it's true, because it's yours. She leaned forward. The design I created for this space, I can't do that for a chain. It only works because this place has a soul, because you poured yourself into it. If you sell, that's gone. It becomes just another restaurant. Nice, professional, empty. You don't think I should take the offer? I think you should take the offer if it's what you actually want. But I think you should be honest about what you'd be giving up. Luca was quiet for a long time, staring at the renderings, at the vision of what Aurelis could become. I need to think, he said finally. Okay, but thank you for being honest. That's what you're paying me for. Is it? He looked at her, something raw in his expression. Sometimes I think I'm paying you to care, which is pathetic. But there it is. Isla's breath caught. You don't have to pay me to care. I care because the work matters, because you matter. She caught herself, corrected. Because this place matters. Too late. He'd heard the slip. She could see it in his eyes. Isla, I should go. Let you think. She stood, grabbed her bag. Whatever you decide, I'll support it. Professionally. Professionally. That's what this is, isn't it? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Luca turned down the acquisition offer. Marcus was furious. Do you have any idea what you just gave up? What we just gave up? I know exactly what I gave up. Luca's voice was calm, final. And I know what I kept. Marcus stormed out. Isla heard the argument from the dining room where she was meeting with the lighting vendor. Heard Marcus's anger, Luca's certainty, the sound of a door slamming. The vendor looked uncomfortable. Should we reschedule? No, Isla said. Let's finish this. They worked through the specifications, dimmer controls, color temperature, placement, the technical details that would make or break the atmosphere she was trying to create. When the vendor left, Luca appeared in the doorway. Sorry about that. Family business. It gets loud sometimes. You turned down the offer. You heard that? Everyone in a 3-block radius heard that. He smiled slightly, tired. Marcus will get over it, eventually. Will you? Isla asked. Get over it? Knowing you could have solved all your problems with one signature? Luca walked into the dining room. looked around at the half-finished space, the exposed walls, the potential. I didn't build this place to solve it. I built it because I had something to say, something to prove. Selling would have been smart, practical, safe. He turned to her. But it wouldn't have been mine anymore. And if it's not mine, what's the point? Isla understood, more than she wanted to admit. Besides, Luca continued, I have a designer who made me see what this place could actually be. It would be a shame to waste that. Professionally speaking, is there any other way to speak with you? The question landed heavy, a challenge, an invitation. She didn't know which. I should stay, he said it simply, for a minute. No contractors, no schedules, just stay. She should say no, should maintain boundaries, should protect herself from whatever this was becoming. But she stayed. They sat at the bar, the one she'd redesigned, the one that didn't exist yet except in renderings and imagination. I'm sorry, Lucas said, for how things started, for not being honest, for making this complicated. It was already complicated. We just pretended it wasn't. Was it? That night felt simple, felt like the simplest thing in the world. That night was a fantasy. This is real. She gestured around them. This is us dealing with consequences. And if I said I wanted both, the fantasy and the real? Isla's heart kicked. I'd say you don't get both. You get to choose. What if I choose you? You can't. I work for you. We have 7 weeks left on this project. Professional boundaries exist for a reason. Then what happens in 8 weeks, when the project is done? She didn't have an answer, hadn't let herself think that far ahead. Isla, he said her name softly, like a question, like a prayer. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I made it impossible for you to trust me, but I'm asking anyway. When this is done, professionally done, can we try again? Actually try? With honesty this time? She wanted to say yes, wanted it so badly it scared her. Ask me again in 8 weeks, she whispered, when there's nothing between us but choice. He nodded, accepted it, didn't push. 8 weeks, he said. 8 weeks. Week 7. The project was coming together. The dining room was taking shape. The kitchen renovations were complete. The new lighting had been installed, and it was perfect. Exactly what Isla had envisioned. She should have been proud, should have been excited. This was the biggest project of her career, the one that would put her name on the map, the one that would prove she belonged. But all she could think about was, one more week of professional distance, one more week of careful conversations and scheduled meetings, and pretending she didn't notice the way Luca looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. One more week until she had to decide, because he'd asked. In 8 weeks, when the project was done, could they try again? And she didn't know the answer. She wanted to. God, she wanted to believe that what she'd felt that first night wasn't a fantasy, that the person he'd been, the honest, vulnerable, real person, was who he actually was underneath the owner and the title and the pressure. But what if she was wrong? What if that night had been the fantasy and this, the careful professional distance, was the reality? What if trying again just meant getting hurt again? You're overthinking. Marcus's voice broke through her spiral. He was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, looking amused. I'm reviewing final specs, Isla said, not looking up from her laptop. You're staring at the same rendering you've been staring at for 20 minutes. That's not reviewing, that's spiraling. She closed her laptop. Was there something you needed? Marcus sat down across from her. My brother is an idiot. You know that, right? Isla blinked. I'm sorry? The whole blind date misunderstanding thing, the not telling you who he was. Classic Luca. Smart about business, disaster with people. I don't think he's been miserable for 7 weeks, trying to be professional, trying to respect boundaries, trying not to screw up your project. Marcus leaned forward. But he's also been happier than I've seen him in years. Because you're here. Because you care about this place as much as he does. Because you see what he sees. Marcus. I'm not telling you what to do. Your personal life is your business. But professionally, as the guy who co-signs your checks, he smiled. You've been good for this place, for him. Whatever happens after the project ends is up to you. But don't let fear make the decision. He stood, left her sitting there with her thoughts and her fears and her laptop full of renderings. Don't let fear make the decision. Easy to say, harder to do. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the brave thing wasn't knowing the answer. Maybe it was trying anyway. The final walkthrough happened on a Tuesday, 8 weeks and 2 days after Isla had started. Every surface gleaming, every light precisely placed, every detail exactly as she'd imagined it. Aurelis had been transformed, not erased, not replaced, revealed. The bones of the original building shining through. Modern without being cold. Sophisticated without being pretentious. A space that invited people to be themselves. Marcus whistled low. This is incredible. Truly incredible. The contractor nodded. Best work I've been part of in 15 years. Lucas stood in the center of the dining room, turning slowly, taking it all in. His expression unreadable. Isla's stomach twisted. This was it. The moment where he either loved it or hated it. Where 7 weeks of work either meant something or didn't. Luca, Marcus prompted, what do you think? Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then, it's perfect. It's exactly what I couldn't articulate but knew I wanted. He turned to Isla. It's perfect. Relief flooded through her. Validation. Success. There's one problem though, Luca continued. Her heart sank. Of course, there was always something. The bar, he said, there's no signature drink. No cocktail that captures what this space is now. Marcus laughed. That's not Isla's problem. That's your problem. Actually, Lucas said, still looking at Isla, I was hoping Isla might help me figure it out. As a consultant, off the clock. Oh, off the clock? She repeated carefully. Completely, no contracts, no professional obligations, just, he paused. 2 people trying to create something together. Marcus cleared his throat loudly. I'm going to check on the kitchen. Contractor, come with me. I have questions about the ventilation. They left. Deliberately obvious. Deliberately giving them space. Isla and Luca stood in the dining room they'd built together. The project complete. The professional obligation fulfilled. So, Luca said, 8 weeks. Actually 8 weeks and 2 days. I noticed. You told me to ask again when there was nothing between us but choice. He took a step toward her. So, I'm asking. Isla Moreno, would you let me take you to dinner? No misunderstandings, no omissions, just honest, just us. She should say yes. She wanted to say yes, but I'm scared, she admitted. I'm scared it won't be like that first night. I'm scared we'll try and it'll just be ordinary, or worse, disappointing. I'm scared too, Lucas said. I'm scared I'll mess it up again, that I'll be too much or not enough or just wrong. He paused. But I'm more scared of not trying, of walking away from the best conversation I've had in years because it might not be perfect. Isla looked around the restaurant, the space they'd created together. Imperfect, complicated, real. Okay, she said. One dinner, honest, no pretending. No pretending, he agreed. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and we'll have tried. Isn't that better than wondering? Maybe. Maybe it was. Friday night, Isla said. 8 o'clock, but not here. Somewhere neutral. Done. He smiled, genuine. Nervous. I promise I'll tell you my full name this time. Lucas Bennett. I read the contract. Then I promise to tell you something you don't know. What? You'll have to show up to find out. Friday arrived faster than she'd expected. Isla changed outfits 3 times. Too formal, too casual, too much like she was trying. Finally, simple black dress, her mother's necklace, comfortable shoes in case she needed to run. She was being ridiculous. It was just dinner. Just 2 people trying to have a conversation without the weight of professional obligation. Without walls. Without fear. Just dinner. Except it wasn't. Because this was the moment where they either found their way back to what they'd had that first night or admitted it had been a fluke. A beautiful accident that couldn't be replicated. The restaurant he'd chosen was small, Italian, the kind of neighborhood place where everyone knew each other's names. Not impressive, not trying to be impressive, just good. Luca was already there, sitting at a corner table. No suit tonight, just jeans and a dark blue shirt. He stood when he saw her. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They sat. The silence stretched, awkward, like they'd forgotten how to talk to each other without blueprints between them. Then Luca laughed. "This is terrible. I'm terrible at this." Isla felt something loosen in her chest. "You're really bad at this." "I know. I planned this whole thing, had topics ready, interesting stories, and now I'm just blank." "Tell me something true," Isla said, echoing their first night, giving him permission to skip the performance. He took a breath. "My full name is Lucas Vincent Bennett. I was named after my grandfather, who I never met. I'm terrified of disappointing my brother, who gave up a stable career to build a relish with me. I'm not naturally good at this, any of this. I just work really hard to make it look like I am. And," he paused, met her eyes, "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for 8 weeks. Even when I was trying to be professional, even when I knew I should give you space, you were all I could think about." Isla's breath caught. "That's more than one thing. You said something. I'm giving you several. Your turn." She took a breath. "Isla Moreno. No middle name because my parents couldn't agree on one. I became an architect because I liked making things that lasted longer than I would. I'm terrified of failing in public. And," she paused, "I almost canceled tonight 3 times because I'm scared. Of me, of hoping, of caring, of letting myself believe this could be real." Luca reached across the table, slowly, giving her time to pull away. Took her hand. "It's real. I promise you, whatever this is, it's real." The waiter appeared, took their order, disappeared again. And just like that, the awkwardness dissolved. They talked. About everything. About nothing. About the restaurant and her practice and his brother and her childhood, and his fears and her dreams. Hours passed. The restaurant emptied around them. The waiter started giving them looks. "We should probably go," Isla said reluctantly. "Probably." Neither of them moved. "Can I walk you home?" Luca asked. "It's 15 blocks. "I don't care." They walked. Through the city, through the Friday night crowds, talking, laughing, not performing. At her building, he stopped. "Can I see you again? Is that allowed? Are we doing this?" Isla thought about 8 weeks of careful distance, thought about the fear that had kept her from saying yes sooner, thought about Marcus's words, "Don't let fear make the decision." "We're doing this," she said. "Whatever this is, we're trying." "Yeah?" "Yeah." He smiled. "The real one, the one from their first night." "Good, because I really like you, Isla Moreno, and I want to see where this goes." "Me too." He kissed her, gentle, careful, like she was something precious, like he was afraid she might break. When he pulled back, he whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" "For giving me another chance, for seeing me, for being brave enough to try." "We're both being brave." "Then we're doing it right." She laughed, kissed him again. "Go home. I'll text you tomorrow." "Promise?" "Promise." She watched him walk away, watched until he turned the corner and disappeared. Then she went inside, leaned against her door, felt her heart racing, Felt scared and hopeful and terrified and excited. Felt alive. This could still go wrong, could still crash and burn, could still end in disappointment, but it could also go right. And that possibility, that fragile, beautiful possibility, was worth the risk. The text came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Luca, are you awake? Isla stared at her phone. She'd been awake, working on a proposal for a new client, a boutique hotel that wanted her vision. Word was spreading. The Aurelis project had opened doors she'd only dreamed about. She typed back, "Unfortunately, yes. What's wrong?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Luca, can I call you? Her heart kicked. Something was wrong. You didn't ask to call at 2 a.m. unless something was wrong. What happened? She answered on the first ring. Nothing happened. Everything's fine. He sounded tired, wired. I've been lying here thinking and I needed to talk to you. About what? Silence. Long enough that she thought he might have changed his mind. Then, about us. About where this is going. About whether you're as scared as I am that we're going to mess this up. Isla sat up in bed, pulled her knees to her chest. I'm terrified, she admitted. Every day I wait for the other shoe to drop. For you to realize I'm not who you thought I was. For this to stop being easy. It's not easy though, is it? His voice was quiet, honest. We're both trying so hard to be perfect, to not make mistakes, to prove we can do this right. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? I don't know, maybe, but it doesn't feel real. It feels like we're performing again, just a different kind of performance. Isla closed her eyes. He was right. These 3 months had been good, great even, but careful, so careful. Both of them tiptoeing around anything that might break the fragile thing they were building. What do you want? She asked. I want to fight with you. I want to disagree about something stupid and know we'll still be okay. I want to see you when you're messy and tired and not at your best. He laughed, bitter. I want to stop being so scared of losing you that I'm not actually with you. Something in Isla's chest cracked open. I want that too. I want to stop auditioning, stop trying to be the version of myself I think you want. What would that look like? The non-audition version? She thought about it. I'd tell you when something bothers me instead of letting it go. I'd cancel plans when I'm too tired instead of pushing through. I'd let you see me fail at things. I want to see all of that. Do you? Or do you want the idea of it? I don't know, he said honestly, but I want to find out. Can we try? Can we just be messy for a while and see what happens? Isla smiled in the darkness of her bedroom. Okay, let's be messy. Yeah? Yeah, starting now. I'm going to tell you something that's been bothering me. Okay? You text me good morning every single day, and it's sweet, it is. But it also feels like a performance, like you're checking a box. Good boyfriend texts good morning, and I'd rather you text me when you actually have something to say. Silence. Then, okay, that's fair, and slightly devastating, but fair. Your turn. You always defer to me when we're making decisions, where to eat, what to do, and I know you're trying to be easygoing, but I'd rather know what you actually want, even if it's different from what I want. Okay, noted. This is harder than I thought. Good, it should be hard. Easy is what we've been doing. Easy is boring. Isla laughed, actually laughed. When did you become wise? 2:17 a.m. apparently. It's my peak wisdom hour. I'm glad you called. Me too. Go to sleep, Isla. You too. I will, after I delete my good morning alarm. She smiled. Don't delete it completely, just use it when you mean it. Deal. Good night. Good night. She hung up, stared at her phone, felt something shift, something important. They were trying, actually trying, not performing trying, real trying. It was terrifying. It was perfect. Their first real fight happened 2 weeks later, over something completely stupid. Luca had made plans for Saturday without checking with Isla first. A wine tasting with Marcus and some restaurant industry people. "You'll love them," he'd said. "They're brilliant. And Marcus has been wanting you to meet them forever." But Isla had plans. A quiet day in her studio, catching up on work. Alone time she desperately needed after a week of client meetings and site visits. "I can't just cancel my day because you made plans for me," she said. They were standing in her studio. He'd stopped by to pick her up, assumed she'd be ready. "I'm not asking you to cancel. I'm inviting you to something. There's a difference. You didn't invite me, you told me we were going. Because I thought you'd want to go. These are important connections, good people to know. For your career, not mine." Luca's jaw tightened. "That's not fair. Isn't it? When's the last time we did something for my work, for my connections? You never ask. You never tell me what you need. I shouldn't have to ask. You should notice." They stared at each other, both frustrated, both feeling misunderstood. This was it. The moment where they either worked through it or fell apart. Isla took a breath. "I'm sorry, that came out harsher than I meant. I'm just tired, and I need today to be mine, not ours, not yours, just mine." Luca nodded slowly. "Okay, I hear that, and I'm sorry for assuming, for not asking what you needed first." He paused. "But I'm also frustrated, because I feel like I'm constantly trying to read your mind, trying to guess what you want because you won't just tell me." "That's fair," Isla admitted. "I'm not good at asking for things. I'm used to just handling everything myself." "I know, but I'm not asking you to handle everything yourself anymore. I'm here. I want to help. I want to show up for you, but I can't do that if you won't let me in." She felt tears prick her eyes, hated that she was crying, hated that this was hard. "I'm trying, I am, but it's scary. Depending on someone, trusting that they'll actually show up." Luca crossed to her, slowly, giving her space to step back if she needed to. "I will show up, even when it's hard, even when we fight. I'm not going anywhere. Promise?" "Promise. Now tell me what you actually need today." "I need to work, alone, in silence, for at least 6 hours." "Okay, then that's what you get. I'll go to the wine thing. You work. And tonight, if you want, I'll bring you dinner. Or I won't. Whatever you need." "Dinner sounds good, but not fancy. Just easy." "Easy dinner. Got it." He kissed her forehead. "We're going to fight again. You know that, right?" "I know. And we're going to be okay." "Are we?" "Yeah, we are. Because we're trying. Actually trying." After he left, Isla sat in her studio for a long time, staring at her blueprints, feeling the echo of tension, of words said and unsaid. They'd fought, and survived, and made it to the other side. Maybe that was what real looked like. Not perfect, not easy, just honest. The letter arrived in April, not an email. An actual letter, heavy paper, embossed logo, the kind of correspondence that meant something. Isla opened it carefully, read it twice, then a third time. A design award, national recognition for the Aurelius project, one of the top restaurant renovations of the year. She'd won. Actually won. The kind of recognition that changed careers, that opened doors, that proved she belonged. She called Luca immediately. "I won," she said when he answered. "The design award. For Aurelius. I won." "Isla, that's incredible. When did you find out?" "Just now. The letter just came. There's a ceremony in New York next month, and they want me to speak, to present the project." "You have to do it. This is huge." "I know, I just—" She paused, felt something complicated. "It's your restaurant, your vision. I just made it real." "No," Lucas said firmly. "You made it better than I could have imagined. You saw what I couldn't articulate. This award is yours. You earned it. Tears pricked her eyes. Thank you. I'm so proud of you. You know that, right? I'm so damn proud. Will you come to New York? To the ceremony? Are you asking me as your boyfriend or your former client? She smiled. Both. Neither. I'm asking because I want you there. Because this matters and you matter and I want to share it with you. Then I'll be there. Absolutely. That night, Lucas showed up at her apartment with champagne and takeout and flowers. They sat on her floor eating pad thai straight from the containers, drinking champagne from coffee mugs because she didn't own proper glasses. Tell me what you're going to say, Lucas said. At the ceremony, what's your speech? I don't know yet. I'm terrified of public speaking, of standing in front of people and trying to sound intelligent. You are intelligent. I know, but there's a difference between being intelligent and sounding intelligent in front of a room full of strangers judging you. Then don't try to sound intelligent. Just tell them the truth. Tell them what the project meant to you. Isla thought about it. It meant everything. It meant proving I could do this, that I belonged, that I wasn't just the quiet one who got lucky. Then say that. I can't say that. That's too vulnerable. Why not? Vulnerability is what makes people listen, what makes them care. She looked at him, at this man who'd learned to be vulnerable with her, who'd called her at 2 a.m. because he was scared, who'd fought with her and stayed. Okay, she said, I'll try. No promises, but I'll try. That's all you can do. They finished the champagne, talked about New York, about the ceremony, about what she might wear, silly things, easy things, the kind of conversation that felt domestic and comfortable and real. Later, lying in bed, Lucas said quietly, I'm really proud of you. I know I said it before, but I mean it. You did something extraordinary. We did it together. No, you did it. I just gave you the space, the canvas. You made the art. Isla turned to face him. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Always. Don't promise always. You can't know always. Then I promise today, and tomorrow, and the day after. I'll keep promising until always gets here. She kissed him, soft and slow. I love you. The words slipped out before she could stop them, before she could be scared, before she could take them back. Luca went very still. Say that again. I love you. I didn't mean to say it, but I do. I love you. I love you too, he smiled, huge and real and unguarded. God, I love you. I've wanted to say it for weeks, but I was scared it was too soon. Too much. It probably is too soon. I don't care. I love you, Isla Moreno. And I'm going to keep saying it until it stops feeling scary. It might always feel a little scary. Good, it should. The important things should be scary. They fell asleep, tangled together, happy, scared, in love. The call came 3 weeks before the New York ceremony. Marcus, not Luca. We have a problem, he said without preamble. A big one. Isla's stomach dropped. What happened? The building next to Aurelius, the owner is selling, and the buyer wants to turn it into a nightclub. Loud music, late nights, the kind of thing that will destroy the atmosphere we've created. Can they do that? Legally? Legally, yes. The zoning allows it. We can fight it, file complaints, but that takes time and money we don't have. Where's Luca? Meeting with lawyers, trying to figure out options. But Isla, Marcus paused. There is one option. We could buy the building ourselves, expand Aurelius, make it something bigger. That's a huge investment. I know, but it might be our only way to protect what we've built. The problem is, we'd need a design, a vision, something to pitch to investors to make the expansion viable. Isla understood what he was asking. You want me to design it. I want you to save it. This is your award-winning project, your reputation. If that nightclub goes in, everything you built gets destroyed. The atmosphere, the intimacy, all of it. He was right. And he knew he was right. When do you need it? 2 weeks. Can you do it? 2 weeks. While preparing for New York, while managing 3 other client projects, while trying to maintain some semblance of work-life balance. Yes, she said, I can do it. She hung up and stared at her calendar. Impossible. The timeline was impossible, but she'd do it anyway. Because Aurelius mattered. Because Luca mattered. Because sometimes you didn't get to choose between your work and your life. Sometimes they were the same thing. Luca came over that night, exhausted, frustrated. Marcus told you. He told me. I'm sorry. I know you're busy with New York prep. I know this is terrible timing. It's not terrible timing. It's just timing. And we'll figure it out. We? You think I'm going to let someone destroy my award-winning project? Not happening. I'm designing the expansion. We're going to make this work. Luca looked at her, something raw in his expression. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. They worked through the night, sketching ideas, running numbers, building a vision for what Aurelius could become. Not just a restaurant, a destination. A space that could hold multiple experiences without losing its soul. By sunrise, they had something. Not polished, not perfect, but real. This could actually work, Luca said, staring at her rough sketches. It will work. We just have to convince other people it will work. You mean you have to convince them? I'm terrible at pitching. Then we'll practice, every day until the presentation. You're going to sell this vision like your life depends on it. It kind of does. Then we better make it good. The investor presentation was a disaster. Luca froze. Completely froze. Stood in front of a room of people with money and influence and forgot every word they'd practiced. Isla watched from the back of the room. Watched him stumble through the financial projections. Watched him lose the thread of his own story. Watched the investors check their phones. Check their watches, check out. She wanted to jump in, wanted to save him. But this was his pitch, his restaurant, his reputation on the line. When it was over, the investors were polite. We'll be in touch, the universal phrase for no. In the parking lot, Luca put his fist through the side of his car. Not hard enough to break anything, just hard enough to feel something other than failure. I'm an idiot, he said. I had one job, one, and I couldn't do it. You were nervous. It happens. It can't happen, not with this, not when everything is on the line. Isla crossed to him, took his hand, the one that had just hit metal. Let me do it. What? Let me pitch. Let me present the vision. I'm better at this. You know I am. It's my restaurant. It's our project. And I want it to succeed. Let me help. Luca pulled away, frustrated. I can't just hand it off to you. I can't be the guy who hides behind his girlfriend because he's too scared to speak in public. You're not hiding. You're being strategic. You're playing to our strengths. My strength is supposed to be leading, running this business. If I can't even pitch investors, then you find someone who can. There's no shame in that. There's only shame in letting pride destroy something important. They stood in the parking lot, both frustrated, both scared, both wanting the same thing but disagreeing on how to get there. I need to think, Lucas said finally. Okay. I'm not saying no, I need to think. Isla nodded, gave him space, went home. That night he texted, You're right, I hate it. But you're right. Will you pitch? She called him. Are you sure? Really sure? Because once we do this, people will know. They'll know I'm not just your designer. They'll know we're together. I know. And you're okay with that? With people talking? With them thinking maybe you gave me the project because we're dating? Let them think whatever they want. I gave you the project because you're brilliant. Because you saw what I couldn't see. Because you're the best person for the job. He paused. And yes, I love you. And yes, that probably influenced my decision. But it doesn't make you less qualified. It just makes me human. Isla felt tears prick her eyes. Okay, I'll do it. I'll pitch. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Wait until we win. We're going to win. I know we are. She wished she had his certainty. The second investor meeting was different. Isla presented. Clear, confident, compelling. She walked them through the vision, not just the design, the experience, the story, what Aurelis meant to the neighborhood, what it could become with the right investment. She showed them renderings, financial projections, letters of support from community members, everything they'd need to say yes. The investors leaned forward, asked questions, real questions, the kind that meant they were interested. When it was over, the lead investor said, "We'll need to discuss, but I have to say, Ms. Moreno, that was one of the best presentations I've seen this year." Luca was waiting outside, pacing. "Well, I think we got them. I think they're going to say yes." He grabbed her, lifted her, spun her around in the middle of the sidewalk. "You're amazing, you know that? You're absolutely amazing. We don't have a yes yet. Don't celebrate too early." "I don't care. You were perfect. I watched through the window. You were perfect." The call came 2 days later. The investors were in. Full funding. Construction could start in 6 weeks. Aurelis would survive, would grow, would become everything they'd imagine. That night, Luca took Isla back to Aurelis. The restaurant was closed, just the two of them in the space they'd saved. "I want to show you something," he said. Led her to the bar, to a plaque mounted on the wall, small, brass, easy to miss if you weren't looking. It read, "Aurelis Redesign, Isla Moreno, Architect." "I had it made last week," Luca said, "before we knew about the investors, before any of this, because regardless of what happened, I wanted people to know. This is your work, your vision. You deserve credit." Isla traced the letters with her fingers. Her name, permanent, acknowledged, real. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving this place, for saving me." "I didn't save you." "You did, though. You made me better, made me braver, made me believe I could be honest and still be enough." She turned to face him. "You were always enough." "I didn't feel like it, not until you." They kissed, slow and deep. In the restaurant they'd built together, the space that had brought them together and torn them apart and brought them back stronger. "I love this place," Isla said, "but I love you more." "Good, because the place is just wood and stone and glass. You're what makes it matter." "That's very romantic for someone who just invested everything in wood and stone and glass." He laughed. "Fair point. Let me rephrase. The place matters, but you matter more." Better. They sat at the bar, in the quiet, in the space between what was and what would be. "New York is next week," Isla said. "I know. Are you ready?" "I don't know. I've written the speech 17 times. It's never right." "Read it to me." "Now?" "Why not? We're here. I'm here. Practice on me." So she did, pulled out her phone, read him the latest draft, stumbled over words, lost her place, started over. "It's terrible," she said when she finished. "It sounds like a robot wrote it." "Then stop writing what you think you should say. Write what you actually feel." "What if what I actually feel is too much, too honest?" "Then it's perfect. That's what people need to hear." New York was overwhelming. The ceremony, the people, the recognition. Isla wore a dress her mother had helped her pick out. "Armor," her mother had said again. "The good kind." Luca wore a suit, held her hand in the cab, reminded her to breathe. "You're going to be great," he said. "You have to say that. You're dating me." "I'd say it even if I wasn't. You're going to be great because you're brilliant and talented, and you've earned this." The award ceremony was held in a converted warehouse. Exposed brick, industrial lighting. The kind of space Isla would have loved to design. She sat through the other presentations, watched designers she admired accept awards, felt increasingly inadequate, increasingly like she didn't belong. Then they called her name. She walked to the stage on shaking legs, stood behind the podium, looked out at hundreds of faces, found Luca in the third row. He smiled, nodded, believed in her. She took a breath, abandoned her prepared speech, spoke from the heart. 3 years ago, I was working at a firm where people called me the quiet one, like it was a diagnosis, like being thoughtful meant I didn't have ideas worth hearing. I left that firm, started my own practice, took on projects that scared me, built a career on being careful, being deliberate, being me. The Aurelius Project was the first time someone saw that carefulness as a strength instead of a weakness. The first time someone trusted me to honor history while creating something new. The first time I felt like I belonged. This award isn't just about design. It's about proving that quiet voices deserve to be heard, that thoughtfulness is powerful, that taking time to get it right matters. Thank you to Lucas and Lucas Bennett for trusting me with your vision. Thank you to everyone who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And thank you to everyone in this room who's ever felt like they didn't belong. You do. We do. This is our space too. The applause was immediate, sustained, real. She left the stage shaking, found Luca waiting in the wings. You did it, he said. You were perfect. I went off script. I know, it was better. That night they walked through Manhattan, no destination, just walking, talking, being. I'm proud of you, Lucas said. I know I keep saying it, but I am. So proud. I'm proud of us, for figuring this out, for being brave enough to try. We did try, didn't we? We're still trying, every day. That's the point. They ended up in Central Park, found a bench, sat watching the city lights reflect off the lake. What happens now? Luca asked. After this? After the expansion? After everything? We keep going. We keep building. Together. Together, he echoed. I like that. Me too. 6 months later, the Aurelius expansion opened. Twice the size, 3 times the impact. Everything they'd imagined. The opening night was chaos. Reservations booked out for months. Press everywhere. Cameras. Questions. The overwhelming validation of success. Isla stood in the new space, the one she designed in 2 weeks of sleepless nights, and felt something huge. Pride, accomplishment, belonging. Luca found her in a quiet corner. You okay? Yeah, just taking it in. This is real. We did this. You did this. We did this, she corrected. Together. You trusted me. I trusted you. We built something neither of us could have built alone. The evening continued. Toasts, speeches, Marcus getting emotional about family and legacy and dreams. Later, when the crowd had thinned and the staff was cleaning up, Luca pulled Isla aside, led her to the new private dining room, the one designed for special occasions. I have something for you, he said. Luca, you already gave me. Just let me do this, please. He pulled out a small box, not a ring box, something else. Inside, a key, silver, engraved with a date, the date of their first dinner. It's a key to Aurelius, Luca said. Both locations, so you can come and go as you please, so you always have a place here. This is your restaurant. It's our space. You made it what it is. You deserve to belong here, officially. Isla felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. There's more. He took a breath, nervous. I want you to be a partner, not in name, actually, officially. I want your name on the door, your vision guiding what we build next. Luca, I know it's a lot. I know you have your own practice, your own clients. I'm not asking you to give that up. I'm asking you to expand, to be part of something bigger, with me. She looked at him, at this man who'd started as a mistake, who'd become everything. Can I think about it? Of course, take all the time you need. Just know that I want this. I want you. In every part of my life. Professionally, personally, all of it. That night, Isla couldn't sleep. Lay in bed thinking about what it would mean. To be partners. To tie their professional lives together the way their personal lives were already tied. It was risky, huge, potentially complicated. It was also everything she'd been working toward. A partnership based on mutual respect, shared vision, trust. In the morning, she called him. Yes. Yes? Yes to the partnership. Yes to building together. Yes to all of it. She could hear the smile in his voice. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Good, because I already had the lawyers draw up papers. I was that confident you'd say yes. That's very presumptuous. I prefer optimistic. I love you, you optimistic fool. I love you too, partner. 1 year later, anniversary of their first date, the one that wasn't supposed to be a date, the one that changed everything. Luca had reserved the same table, corner spot, rain-streaked windows, the table where it all started. Isla arrived exactly on time, not early, not late, confident in her place here, in their space. Luca stood when he saw her, still did that, still would probably, years from now. Some habits were worth keeping. Hi, he said. Hi. They sat. The restaurant hummed around them. Their restaurant now, their space, their dream made real. 1 year, Isla said. Can you believe it? Barely. Feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago simultaneously. I was so angry at you that night when I found out. I know, I deserved it. You did. But I'm glad I gave you another chance. Glad we tried. A waiter appeared, not to take their order, to hand Luca a menu, the same menu from their first night. Really? Isla laughed. We're doing this? Humor me. He opened the menu. Inside, not food options, a letter, handwritten. Read it, Luca said. Isla took the menu, read. Isla, 1 year ago I sat at this table and lied by omission. I let you believe I was someone I wasn't because I was tired of being who I was supposed to be. It was selfish. It was wrong. But it led us here. This year I've learned that honesty is harder than performance, that real love means showing up messy, that partnership means trusting someone with both your strengths and your weaknesses. You've made me braver, better, more myself than I've ever been, and I want to spend the rest of my life trying to do the same for you. This isn't a proposal, not yet, but it's a promise to keep choosing you, to keep being honest, to keep building something real together. I love you, not the version of you that you think you should be, the actual you, messy and brilliant and careful and brave. Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for staying. We're Luca. When Isla looked up, there were tears in her eyes. You're going to make me cry in public. Is it working? Completely. He reached across the table, took her hand. I meant every word. I know you did. That's why I'm crying. They sat like that, hands linked across the table, in the space they'd created together, the life they'd built from a misunderstanding and a second chance. I have something for you too, Isla said, pulled out her phone, showed him an email, a design award, the expansion project, nominated for recognition, her second major award in 2 years. Isla, that's incredible. I want you to present with me, this time, together, equal credit, equal recognition. You don't have to do that. I want to, because it's true, we did this together, and I'm tired of pretending professional and personal are separate. They're not for us, not anymore. Luca smiled. Okay, together. The rain started, just like their first night, tapping against the windows, making the city outside blur into soft light. "Do you ever regret it?" Luca asked. "The way we started? The complications?" Isla thought about it, really thought. "No, because it made us fight for this, made us prove it was real, made us build something strong enough to last." "It is lasting, though, isn't it?" "Yeah, it is. We are." They ordered dinner, talked about work and family and plans for the future. Easy conversation, comfortable silence, the rhythm of two people who'd learned to be themselves together. Later, walking back to her apartment, their apartment now, officially, as of 3 months ago, Lucas said, "I'm happy, just happy. Is that weird?" "Not weird, nice. I spent so long chasing something, trying to prove something, and now I just am. And it's enough. You're enough. You always were. So are you. I hope you know that." She did, finally. After years of doubt and fear, and feeling like she had to earn her place, she knew. They stood outside the building, the same building where he'd kissed her for the first time, where they'd decided to try. "Thank you," Isla said. "For what?" "For not correcting me, that first night, for letting me believe you were someone you weren't, because it gave me the courage to be someone I was." Lucas smiled. "You're welcome, though I'm pretty sure that's not how it works." "It's exactly how it works. We both got to be ourselves, just with each other." "I like us." "Me too." They went inside, went home, together. Not perfect, not easy, but real, honest, enough. And in the end, that was everything.